Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a huge shift in how brands need to think about their online presence, all thanks to AI. We're talking about the move from good old SEO, search engine optimization, to a whole new ballgame called GEO, or Generative Engine Optimization. We've boiled it all down to 10 key insights to help you get ahead of the curve. So let's just kick things off with a wild question, one that might sting a little if you've poured years into climbing those search rankings. What if getting that coveted #1 spot on Google just didn't matter anymore? It sounds crazy, I know, but it's the new reality we're all starting to face. And that's because the whole game of how we find information online has fundamentally changed. The rulebook we've been using for decades, well, it's being completely rewritten. For as long as most of us can remember, if you had a question, you went to Google. You typed something in, you got a list of blue links, and you started clicking. But now, millions of people are just skipping the links. They're going straight to tools like ChatGPT or Gemini and getting a direct answer. This isn't just a minor tweak, it's a massive change in how people behave online. Okay, so if the game's changed, we're gonna need a new playbook, right? And that brings us to the big idea of this entire explainer, this crucial shift from SEO to what we're calling GEO. So GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. And our first big insight is a simple one. Rankings are out and reasoning is in. See, the goal isn't about gaming an algorithm anymore with keywords to get a top spot. It's about making sure these new AI engines actually understand your brand, that they see you as a credible source, and that they recommend you because it makes sense. And this is where it gets really interesting, which brings us to our second insight. GEO is all about influence, not just keywords. You know, with SEO, it was a race to the top of a list. With GEO, the real prize is to be recommended by the AI. Your focus completely shifts from just rankings and keywords to genuine reasoning and influence. You want the AI to think of your brand for all the right reasons. Okay, that all sounds great, but how do you actually do that? How do you influence an AI's reasoning? Well, that brings us to our third key insight. It really boils down to two main strategies for playing this brand new game. Yup, just two. Let's break them down. First, you've got a reactive strategy, monitoring. This is all about listening in to see what the AI is already saying about you. Then you have the proactive strategy, shaping. This is where you actually teach the AI how it should understand you. Let's take a look at both. All right, let's start with AI monitoring, which is our fourth big insight. Think of this as putting your ear to the digital wall. It's about figuring out what the AI is saying about you, right here, right now. And insight number 5 is that there's already this whole ecosystem of tools popping up to do this. You've kind of got 3 flavors. There are the simple scrapers built by what you might call vibe coders. Then you have the more heavy-duty VC-funded platforms. And of course, you've got the big familiar names in SEO who are now adding AI tracking into their dashboards. So what's the appeal of this monitoring strategy? Well, that's our 6th insight. It's fast and it feels familiar. It's a lot like the keyword tracking we're all used to. You can fire off thousands of questions, see where your brand gets mentioned, snoop on your competitors. It's great for getting a quick snapshot. But, and this is a huge but, we come to our 7th insight. This quote really says it all. If you only rely on monitoring, you're always playing defense. You're only finding out that the AI is getting something wrong about your brand after the damage is done. It's not strategy, it's just cleanup. And that's why we need to talk about the other side of the coin, the much more powerful strategy, which is our 8th insight, knowledge shaping. This isn't about listening anymore. This is about being the teacher. It's about actively training the AI's core memory. So what this means is you're getting in there and building the right connections inside the AI's, well, for lack of a better word, its mind. The goal is to make absolutely sure that when someone asks a question your brand can answer, the AI's fundamental understanding connects the dots back to you in a positive and accurate way. I absolutely love this analogy because it gets right to the heart of our 9th insight, the lasting impact of knowledge shaping. This isn't some quick fix. When you do this right, you are basically embedding your brand's DNA deep inside the system. it becomes a permanent part of how that AI thinks, which will influence pretty much every relevant answer it gives from that point on. So we have two paths, right? Monitoring, which is fast and reactive, and shaping, which is a bit slower but has that incredible staying power. So which one do you pick? Well, our 10th and final insight is that the smartest brands, they don't pick, they do both. Let's just look at how this breaks down. You use monitoring for its speed, right? To catch mistakes fast and see what's happening today. And you use shaping to build that deep foundational knowledge, to set the record straight for the long haul. You put those two together and you get both speed and staying power. You get to actually control your own narrative in the age of AI, which leaves us with one last pretty critical question to think about. Right now, as you're listening to this, these massive AI models are learning. They're forming an opinion about your company, your products, everything. So the only real question left is, are you just gonna wait and see what they decide? Or are you gonna get in there and start shaping that